because it's going to be a big deal. But I'm excited, and I don't mean to be mysterious, but there's a big announcement coming later today. Okay. The wait will soon be over. There's a big announcement coming later. That's all I can say right now. So you want to keep your eyes peeled, your ears peeled, be tuned in for a big announcement coming from CGR later today. Now I'm all curious. I'm excited about it, and I even know what it is. It's going to be great. Again, I hate to do this, but we're going to kick things off with some sad news. Good morning, by the way. I'm Jeremy. Thank you for joining me for the Classic Guitar Rack Daily Update. Some sad news. Denny Laine has passed away. Most folks know Denny Laine from his time with Paul McCartney and Wings. It was Paul and Denny that started Wings. He has passed away from what is called interstitial lung disease, ILD, 79 years old. His wife, Elizabeth, posted on social media, quote, "My darling husband passed away peacefully early this morning. I was at his bedside holding his hand as I played his favorite Christmas songs for him. He's been singing Christmas songs the past few weeks, and I continue to play Christmas songs while he's been in ICU on a ventilator this past week." They thought that he was going to recover. Things look good, but with this interstitial lung disease, apparently it's very aggressive, and he passed away. He was not only a founding member of Wings, but also was a co-founder of the Moody Blues, was in the Moody Blues until 1966. They had most of their success after Denny left. The hit Go Now. Do you remember Go Now from the 60s? That was actually Denny Laine singing. After Denny left, Justin Hayward was a singer. And most of us, I think of Justin Hayward as the singer of the Moody Blues. But after the Moody Blues, he was in Ginger Baker's Air Force for a while. And then in 71, he joined up with Paul and Linda McCartney to form Wings. And ironically, today is the 50th anniversary of Band on the Run. So what are the odds of that he passes on the same day that Paul McCartney's most popular album is celebrating the 50th anniversary. So our condolences to the family of Denny Laine. That Band on the Run's an excellent album, by the way. Have you guys ever listened to the whole thing? It's really good. I'm not trying to be controversial when I say this. I just really believe this. Of the solo stuff, Paul McCartney's is way better than John Lennon's. It just is. It's better all the way around. And I know people kind of always held, Lennon was kind of the most revered, and then McCartney, then Harrison, and then it's kind of a pecking order, right? But for my money, the Beatles solo stuff, I even like George's better than John's solo. Sorry, not a fan of John's solo stuff. He wasn't as good solo as either Paul or George, in my opinion. And don't say Imagine. Imagine's a creepy song. Sorry. Now I'm going to hear it. Now I'm really going to hear it. During a wide-ranging discussion on the latest episode of the Osbournes podcast, Ozzy Osbourne was asked if he would ever consider possibly making a song with an artificial intelligence, AI, generated version of his late guitarist Randy Rhoads. Now, this is kind of a prescient topic, right? We just saw Kiss rolled out their Avatar thing. We've seen there. Remember, there was a Dio tour. They did a tour of Dio's hologram, right? And so technologies like hologram, avatars, AI, it's a brave new world, guys. No telling 20 years from now what could happen. Ozzy even references the Now and Then video, the Beatles video that came out a few weeks ago, where they took an old demo of John Lennon's had the other Beatles add parts. And this was George Harrison died in 2000 or 2001. And they've got Lennon, who died in 80, Harrison 21 years later, and they have this song that pieces together all these guys along with Paul and Ringo. So the technology is there that there's no telling what it will be like. Ozzy says that his son Jack, who hosts the website, asked him about this. He says, I haven't considered it yet, but as far as me doing something like that, the remaining Beatles did it with John Lennon, referencing the recently released Now and Then, featuring the voices of all 4 original Beatles performers, with surviving members Paul, McCartney, and Ringo Starr essentially finishing what was initially an old demo recording of John Lennon. Quote, open quote, that was a partial song and they cleaned the track up. I don't think I have anything left of Randy Rhoads. And of course, Sharon pops in. Here's a dig at Bob Daisley. She doesn't mention him by name, but she says, no, there's nothing left that was properly recorded. There's just like a couple of silly cassettes floating around that people go, this is wonderful stuff. A cassette from 40 years ago is not going to be great, taken from a rehearsal room. That's a direct swipe at Bob Daisley and the Holy Grail. Bruce is chiming in. He says, how about AI Rush with Neil? Or AI Van Halen with Eddie? He brings up a good point, Bruce. Those are excellent points. And the technology is almost, well, it is there, right? You could do it, but it's only getting better. Okay. So interesting thought ethically. I mean, what are the ethics of that? I mean, it's uncharted territory. So an AI, you go see a concert with an AI generated, are they talking about generating AI video, AI audio? There's so many things that can be done. And asked if AI makes him nervous, Ozzy said simply, no, it doesn't make him nervous. But Sharon, she's definitely worried about it. Quote, of course I'm worried, but it's like, look, now everything, a lot, you can say half, well, a quarter of the music industry is done on computers anyway, not even in studios. So it's just gone from one computer to another, she explained. But I don't like the idea of it at all. She's talking about AI. It's interesting. Okay. It's an interesting thing to consider. What will it look like 20 years from now? Guys, movies, we won't need real people to make movies in 20 years, maybe less than 20 years. And it's already almost there. I mean, we've had movies like Avatar, the movie Avatar, the Kiss avatars, but we've had movies that you don't even need a real person anymore. And that's only getting better. So think about this. You're a movie studio. You can create characters that look real. You don't have to pay actors. I do voiceovers. I'm a freelance voiceover guy. And the AI voices are getting so much better. It used to be 5 years ago. It was super bad. You could tell. You can still tell if it's fake, but it's getting better. So 10 years from now, they won't need to voice over people. They'll just use AI generated, and it'll be the same for movies. So it's a brave new world. Brave new world. Rush, let's talk more about Geddy Lee. This is not about his book. Well, it's kind of tangentially about his book, but Geddy Lee has shared the lost demos, 2 previously unreleased solo songs available today on all streaming platforms. So you can stream them today. 2 new songs. One is called Gone. One is called I Am, You Are. And these were songs that he had written and recorded for his 2000 solo debut, My Favorite Headache. So back in 2000, he had this solo album, My Favorite Headache. And these are two songs that were recorded. I mean, they're done. These are, well, they're calling them demos, but it sounds like they're pretty much done, or they were done enough that it didn't take a whole lot of stuff to get them ready to be released. He says, quote, "I'm excited to see these two lost demos released. I love the songs when they're written, and in some ways they feel as fresh and perhaps more relevant all these years later." So, guys, you might not remember this. In the space of a year, Neil Peart lost his daughter in a car accident, and within less than a year, his wife died of cancer. So can you imagine in 1 year losing your daughter, only child, losing your daughter and your wife? That was where Neil was at. So this song, Gone, was written. This was Geddy's, I don't want to call it a tribute, but it was a song about that. Well, here's the words that Geddy said. "One of them is a song called Gone that I had written just after Neil's daughter Selena had passed away tragically in that car accident. And when you lose somebody, you relive a lot of your other losses. And I was thinking about, how does one deal with the sudden disappearance of someone from your life, especially a daughter?" Geddy has a daughter. So I wrote this song with Ben Mink, who was a co-writer or producer or someone. It was the first song we wrote for My Favorite Headache, and we demoed it. But it just felt, it was beautiful, but I felt it was too raw. It was too close to the bone. I didn't think it was appropriate to release it out of respect for Neil and the way he was. Okay, so heavy, right? Heavy. And you understand why it wasn't released, is it just thought it hit a little too close to home. But anyways, that song, Gone, but that's the context behind that song. And then the other one is called I Am You Are, which is, he says it's about relationships. And it's about me in the midst of a difficult conversation with my wife, which happened more than once in my life. So here are these two songs that sound like they're pretty poignant, pretty heavy songs. I don't want to say heavy. I haven't heard them. I'm going to go listen to them, but serious songs, right? And those are now available to stream. Very interesting. So just a few comments. Let's see what Bruce says. "We are the priests of the temples of Syrinx. Our great computers fill these hallowed halls." Very appropriate. Yes, Rush talked about that on 2112. And Eric Mason chiming in, "I prefer real humans and to let the past stay in the past. Not an AI fan. I also scream at kids to get off my lawn." You and me both. Absolutely. Speaking of that, right? Speaking of this technology, this brave new world we're entering into, let me remind you, big announcement coming up today regarding technology and regarding classic guitar. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned, stay close. I have an album I want to talk about. It's no secret. Okay. At least I haven't tried to keep it a secret. I think I've even said it. And this is subject to change. A year from now, it might be different. But for the last few years, I've said it. And I'll die on this hill. Michael Schenker is my favorite guitar player. He's my favorite. I think he's crazy, but he's my favorite guitar player. And here's an album that when you have the best live album conversation, no one ever mentions this, but to me, it's just an awesome album. It's MSG One Night at Budokan. It's the Michael Schenker Group live, August 12th, 1981. So this is material from the first two MSG albums. This was cold. This is how cold record companies can be, right? So they do the first two albums with Gary Barden. Gary Barden, the singer. Gary Barden's great. I love Gary Barden. And then the record company decides, we need someone that's more famous. So they fire Gary and bring in Graham Bonnet. Now, I love Graham Bonnet. Don't get me wrong. I love Graham Bonnet. And to be honest, my favorite Schenker album is probably Assault Attack with Graham Bonnet. Then there was the whole wardrobe malfunction, public exposure flashing incident that that Graham had. They fired him again. How awkward is that? Then they call back Gary and say, oh, Gary, we need you to come back in the middle of the Assault Attack tour. So they fire Gary. They bring in Graham. They produce a great album. Graham does like 2 shows. They fire him. And then Gary has to come back and sing all the Graham songs on the next tour. But I digress, because this album is before all that drama happened. Okay. One night at Budokan, the Michael Schenker group, and this lineup. I mean, you got, of course, you got Michael Schenker on guitar. You've got Gary Barden on vocals, Chris Glynn on bass, Cozy Powell, the great Cozy Powell on drums, and of course, all around, the greatest utility man in rock and roll, Paul Raymond. He plays guitar, he plays keyboards, he does background vocals. He's awesome. He was in UFO. Paul Raymond's in the lineup too. Do yourself a favor. First of all, if you aren't familiar with UFO, you got to go back and listen to UFO. You have to. The most underrated band in the classic rock era. They should have been one of the biggest bands ever because they're awesome. Their live album, Strangers in the Night, for my money, is the best live rock album ever made. This is not as good as Strangers in the Night. This is a good album, though, and no one plays like Schenker. The dude just has a phenomenal melodic feel. He can do the shreddy stuff, but you can sing his solos, right? It's not just empty dwidlies like a lot of guitar players. He crafts melodies. Don't get me going, because I could talk for hours. But if you get a chance to listen to this album one night at Budokan, you should do it. Here's the thing about Schenker, and there's a few artists that are like this. Yes is like this. Deep Purple's like this. If you go on to Spotify, there's like 100 Deep Purple albums on Spotify. Rainbow, the same way. They recorded everything and released it as an album. I mean, albums that you never saw in the store, but now in the day of streaming, you can. Schenker's the same way. There are so many Schenker albums and live Schenker albums. It's hard to know where to start, and they're not all good, right? But this one, One Night at Budokan, is a good one. So I'm just inviting you to go down the Michael Schenker rabbit hole with me, because it's good. It's a good place to be. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate all your help. Appreciate you following us on Twitter, on, I guess it's X, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you follow us. We appreciate it. And again, stay tuned. Very important announcement coming later today. Stand by. Live long and prosper. We'll see you.